There's pretty much a consensus online in articles and videos that Microsoft is taking the innovation crown from Apple with things like the Microsoft Surface Studio, and that as a result, Apple will slowly start dying. And while I think there is an element of truth to that, I also think it's way oversimplifying things. I'm Martin from TechAltar. This is the 7th episode of the Story Behind series, and let's see if Microsoft really is the new Apple. So the reason why this idea is so popular right now is that the new MacBook Pros and the Surface Studio were both announced at pretty much the same time a few weeks ago. And let's be honest, the MacBook is just a thinner and faster MacBook with a questionable set of ports and an equally questionable touch bar, whereas the Surface Studio is sexy on the level of, oh my god, what is that hinge doing? That display looks phenomenal, and where can I get a dial like that? But to draw a monumental conclusion from these two products alone is a bit silly, I think, because neither of them are real game changers. The MacBook because, well, it's just a newer MacBook, and the Surface Studio because, well, indeed very cool and innovative, it's just a super expensive niche product aimed at a tiny group of people. Neither of these will, by themselves, significantly change the overall technology landscape. The bigger question, I guess, is whether these two products can be seen as representations of how capable and ambitious these two tech giants are. And here, I think the answer isn't as obvious as many people say. Microsoft has certainly shown more innovation in the last few years, not just with the Studio, but also with the Surface Pro, the Book, the HoloLens, Continuum, the introduction of Touch to Windows, and also the Universal Windows platform that allows the same apps to run on PCs, phones, Xbox, and all manners of virtual and augmented reality headsets. These are, without a doubt, bold, even if not all of them were universally well received. But being bold didn't seem to translate into clear business success for Microsoft. Apple still is the most profitable company on planet Earth, and Microsoft, while not doing badly themselves, doesn't even come close. So the question is, why? And why doesn't Apple show us something truly game-changing? First, I think exactly because Apple is the current winner in the game. Smartphones have clearly overshadowed PCs as the most important consumer technology items, and with that, Apple took the crown from Microsoft. Last quarter, Apple owned more than 103% of the profits of the whole smartphone market. If you're wondering, that's possible because if you add all other manufacturers together, those made a 3% loss. Ouch. Since smartphones still are the biggest category in technology right now, which Apple is clearly winning, any radical change to this landscape would probably be something that Apple would want to avoid. But if Apple keeping quiet is a result of them winning, then I think Microsoft throwing everything they have at innovation is probably a result of them being under immense pressure. They came out as the clear losers in the smartphone war, and while PCs have seen some truly interesting new categories emerge, the industry as a whole hasn't shown any significant growth as a result. Of course, because of this, Microsoft has to try everything they can to change the status quo, which means bold choices, new categories, and so on. This leaves Apple and Microsoft with a very different set of goals. Apple wants to build an even higher wall around their garden, in the center of which sits the ultimate cash cow, the iPhone. An Apple Watch that works only with your iPhone, Apple Pay that works with the iPhone, an Apple TV that, works with the iPhone, a Mac that syncs your stuff with the iPhone, and so on. They even let their iPad line get cannibalized by introducing larger iPhones. Add to that Apple has built its brand into a sort of religion, and the walls might be high enough that consumers won't leave when the next big thing hits the market. Microsoft, on the other hand, is desperately trying to tear those walls down. They are building the next big thing, they're pushing Office and other services to iOS and Android, they've even made a pact with the devil known as the open source community as well as Linux out of all organizations. If you thought Microsoft opened up like that because they are just a cool company, then think again. I think they did it because they realized that walls have to fall in order for the market to be disrupted, even walls that were previously maintained by Microsoft themselves. Now, I don't think Apple is so stupid as to think that they can just sit on their iPhone throne forever. I'm sure they are also hard at work trying to figure out what the next big thing is. But unlike Microsoft, I think they do it behind closed doors. Apple likes to do products alone, hardware, software, services, everything. So if they have the next big thing in mind, they would just develop it in-house until it's done, and only let us know about it once it's sure to not hurt their current market dominance. Microsoft, on the other hand, is not only more desperate, but would usually also rely on its partners to do most of the lifting, which requires the sharing of concepts and ideas in an early stage. The HoloLens, for example, has been in beta since forever, and just look at how they have announced Microsoft VR headsets a few weeks ago. The concept is out there, but there are no products, no price points, nothing concrete. That is something that Apple would never do. Surely they also have beta products, but they just don't tell us about them. So a big reason why Microsoft seems so much more innovative is that they're just more open about telling us what they're working on. My point is that we have to discount Microsoft's seemingly obvious innovation advantage a little bit, because a lot of it comes from A, being under immense pressure for having missed the largest tech trend of the last 2 decades, and B, being faster at throwing untested things on the market. Now, if I disregard the reasons for innovation and I focus purely on the results, I do think Microsoft, after a long period of struggling to catch up, has finally gotten to the point where they have a few significant advantages over their competitors. After the badly received Windows 8, for example, that forced touch on computer users that didn't want to touch their laptops, Windows 10 was refined to become the most adaptable OS on the market that actually works well on a desktop with a mouse and a keyboard, on a tablet with a pen, on a phone with your finger, on a HoloLens doing augmented reality, as a computer replacement using Continuum, and I'm not even talking about servers or other devices. It is so versatile, in fact, that it might be well suited to power the next big thing, whatever it might be. And Microsoft now also has a hardware team that sometimes even puts that of Apple to shame. While Apple seems to have lost some of its credibility as the company that designs perfect hardware through ugly battery cases, pencils that charge from iPads, mice that charge upside down, and mountains of dongles, Microsoft's team has repeatedly given us that wow moment with its new product categories that we were previously only used to from Apple.
I think Microsoft is still far away from threatening Apple's throne. But just as Apple is getting a little bit lazy building walls around its empire, Microsoft is hungrier than ever. And I think as a result of years of struggle, the company finally has the potential to do some real damage. Now, I don't think any significant change will come to the market until a company comes up with a new, truly transformative kind of product. You know, the next big thing, whatever it might be. And to be honest, it could be either one of these companies, or it might as well be a third company. The Surface Studio isn't that. Neither was the MacBook Pro, nor was anything Apple or Microsoft have done in the last couple of years. But I think if Microsoft keeps coming up with interesting new products at the pace at which they do now, they might eventually strike gold. Whichever company comes out on top, I'll be sure to report on it on the Story Behind series, where I take a closer look at the trends shaping our technology industry. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, please consider subscribing to the channel, give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and let me know in the comments below whether you think Microsoft really is the new Apple. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.